for joining this evening. I am now calling the meeting to order. Dante, if I could ask you, either you or one of the staff could keep minutes for this evening.
Okay.
In the absence of the secretary, thank you very much. All right, I want to welcome everyone to our first executive meeting for Brooklyn Community Board 9 for the 2023-24 year. I'm really excited for this year. I'm happy to see all the faces that are here. I'm really excited about our board, and you know, I think I'll preface it by saying we have a fantastic team here, and I'm really excited about that because we have a lot of work that needs to be done on behalf of our community. But I think we have strong committees, we have strong leadership, we have a dedicated district office. So I think we have those things that will be necessary for us to make the pushes that we need to make on behalf of Community District 9. Just as a brief, and I think it might be helpful for us to just do a brief round of introductions, just so that way everyone, you know, if there's anybody who doesn't know anybody, we can get to know each other as we go along. So once again, Fred Baptiste, currently serving as chair of Brooklyn Community Board 9.
Hi, I'm Sol, and I am the chair of Youth and Education Committee.
Sister Leopold, second vice chair, and chair for Health and Social Services.
Primo Lasana, first vice chair, formerly chairs of the Youth Services and Public Safety Committee.
Nicholas Almonor, Chair of Park Recreation and Culture Committee.
Suki Cheong, currently chair of Land Use.
Debbie Timothy, Chair of the Environmental Protection Committee.
Rod Herbert, new board member and member of the Environmental Protection Committee.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely, sir.
Ms. Westerdahl, I see you on. Did you want to introduce yourself very briefly?
Yeah, sure. Teresa Westerdahl, Environmental Protection Committee, 3 years now. Hello, everyone.
And also our district office team, if they could introduce themselves as well.
Good evening, everyone. Dante Arnwine, the district manager. Good evening, everyone. Khalid Jamad, community associate, Brooklyn Community Board 9.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And definitely this will be something.
Did Mr. Almonor go?
Absolutely.
Oh, he did. I didn't hear him.
I did, yes.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I try to mute it. I try to mute him immediately afterwards. So, you know. No, but again, I want to thank everyone for joining. And I do want to just begin with just a couple of housekeeping items. So as you can see, we are currently meeting as an exec via Zoom for this meeting. This is something only because I think, and this goes back to, we've been dealing with the pandemic for the last 3 years. And I think every time we think we're done with the pandemic, it's not done with us. So out of an abundance of caution, we've actually scheduled for all of our meetings to meet virtually for this month, just so that we can make sure that members are safe, the public is safe, and also to see if there's any strategy or any guidance is being developed by the city or the state in terms of how we're going to be continuing, especially in light of rising numbers of COVID prevalence. I have to say that I'm recently recovering myself, so definitely I want to know everyone to know that, you know, we definitely value the in-person. I think there's something to that, but at the same time, we also want to make sure that we're able to be productive, but at the same time, make sure that we are preserving, maintaining a safe environment for all the members and for all the community at large. So what we are going to be doing is we are taking a step-by-step approach with respect to that. So we are most likely going to be meeting in person. We are most likely going to be meeting in person for the September meeting. However, I'm in conversation with the district office. We are probably going to be looking to implement as many safety protocols as we can. So we might be looking to have social distancing. We might request that people wear masks as well. And we, see if there's any other materials that we can keep on hand to make sure that everyone stays safe as we go forward. So this is at least for the September meeting. We are going to see as we go forward with respect to how we're proceeding with our meetings and if there's any guidance that's being issued. As soon as we have any additional information, we definitely want to make sure that we're sharing that with the board, with the chairs, with the public as well. But I think the priority is for that everyone stays safe. Okay. All right, I do see one question we will take. We can take one, we'll take the one question, I think from Ms. Cox, if you could promote her really quickly, we'll take that one. Is she in? I don't see her.
No, she has to accept the promote the panelist that's popping up on.
Okay, Ms. Cox, if you can see, we're trying to promote.
Oh, okay, so Ms. Cox declined it, so we can move on.
Okay, all right then. All right, so listen, we're going to move, we're gonna try and be as expeditious with the agenda as possible. We are going to move in next to the committee chair check-ins. So we have the chairs of various committees that are going to provide reports. I would ask again, as part of being efficient and operational efficiency, we ask that when you come to the executive committee meetings, please try to have your reports already submitted to the office so that way we can provide it to the exec, to the officers, and that way we can definitely make sure that it's provided to the board in advance. We want to make sure that board members are doing the homework in advance of the meetings, so that way we're actually able to engage in the debate as opposed to people catching up with homework on the floor, trying to ask questions that are most likely going to be answered in any reports that are provided by the committee. If I would ask, at least initially, if we can try and keep reports down to 2 minutes for this meeting. In future meetings, I'm going to ask that your summaries be down to 1, and otherwise your reports speak for themselves. And really, the only thing after that is just action items that you'll present before before the board at that time. Okay, so I know Sol, I think you were one of the first on, so we'll recognize you first if you're prepared with your report.
Hi, everybody. And I hope you guys had a great summer and are fresh and bright as we're starting out our new year. So we had 14 people attend our meeting, and people are aware that it's a joint committees, that youth services and education committee are still technically separate, but we're having our meetings together monthly, second Tuesdays of the month. So we had a great meeting. We had quite a few new members, which I thought was great, as well as they were very active. We also had a visitor, which was Justin Freeman from the New York State Assembly District 5 under Farah Sofer Forrest, came and attended, and he presented that he was having a meeting at Major Owens Health and Wellness Community Center for people to voice concerns. And it's a town hall type of meeting, but there was also a youth focus. I went to the meeting. It was actually a really good meeting. A lot of organizations were there. I'm going to be assisting with creating monthly meetings that grassroots and other nonprofits or community organizations can have. And so CB9 will definitely have a voice in that meeting. So it was really great. Other things that we talked about was, what type of things we want to do this year. So they talked about doing for the youth, for us to do like some community events, like the community and neighborhood cleanup, a food pantry, and maybe like having us do like a clothing or sock drive, like people who are homeless. Working on a community garden, like doing an activity with youth and the community garden. Also discussed like having a youth summit, but then, we talked about, how are we going to get youth there, that if we're going to try to do something like that, we really got to be strategic about getting good attendance, because I've worked on some before and some are successful and some are not as successful. So we need to be mindful of how we're going to make something like that happen and make it accessible, successful. And that there was members who were a part of like pulling in activities with the PAL or the Police Athletic League, And we got to figure out how to go to places where youth are to help them to be more engaged and to really find out what is their needs is a lot of the different things that were talked about. In addition to that, we were able to get our board positions. So Linda and Clea is going to be the vice chairs. Billy and Latween, vice chairs for Education Committee. Billy and Latween are the co-vice chairs for Youth Committee, and Cynthia and Latween are co-secretaries. So we were able to vote our members in, and we are going to create a WhatsApp group so that we can continue to have continuous conversations, because we all agreed that trying to just do everything once a month is pretty difficult. But if we're able to have a chat and come up with ideas and events, and then also have people help to chair subcommittees based on those events, that would be helpful. And people agreed that the board can send us that information so that we can create a way to keep in more constant contact. And that would be about it.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions? We can entertain 2 questions maximum for the chair right now. Any questions for the chair of Education and Library and Youth Service?
I just have a quick question because I wasn't reflected in any of the minutes or anything that I found, but so the 2 committees are now combined, Education and Youth Services. What's happening exactly? Is that a permanent thing?
They're still technically 2 separate committees, but because I'm chairing both, we're just meeting at the same time.
Right. This is something we're trying as a board. In a number of other boards, those 2 committees are actually one committee. And as there's overlap typically between those 2 committees and a lot of other places we've heard, for this year at least, we're trying to see if this is something that makes more sense. And, in terms of, can they, if we have those 2 committees working together, this will be something as a board we can reconsider later on if it's something we want to make permanent and we just merge those 2. But I do want to.
Okay, but it needs to be reflected on the minutes and in the agendas in the place, because I wouldn't have known that, from looking, and it would be helpful if there were like either you double up or you maybe combine them on the pull down or some way so it's easy to identify that they're together now. That's all I'm asking, is so people know, because I just thought they didn't meet at all, the one committee. I didn't realize they were together.
Okay, noted. Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions for the chair? Okay, seeing none. Are there any action items for your committee for this month that we need to vote on?
Not for this month.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, see, that was painless, see? Okay, let's see who else we're gonna go for here. Ms. Timothy, do you have a report for environmental protection? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pull you.
Debbie, I think you're on mute.
Hello?
But, oh, there you go. Yep.
We got you.
So we did have a meeting last Monday. Oh no, Thursday. Went well. Of course, there was a question of community, the fact that we do not have any community residents on the committee, which I did bring up to Dante prior to the, stopping by the office, to collect something, and I brought it up. So, but it did come up at the meeting as I stated it would. So I guess we need to follow up on that to see, where we are with that. Also, Mr. Herbert, who is a resident on Troy Avenue. Did I get that right? Yeah, so there's a Troy Avenue resident committee, and they're expressing some concerns about the Vital Brooklyn project. I'm not sure which committee is, involved in that. I believe it might be housing or ULURP, I'm not sure. So it would be good to know, but they do have some concerns that they are trying to get addressed with the Assemblymember Cunningham. I'm not sure if there was a meeting originally set up to discuss that. It got canceled. I'm not sure if anything else is in place. But, you know, we had a little discussion on that, and, you know, Mr. Herbert was gonna work on getting additional information. So I don't know if there is additional information on that, or if, you know, we can get a presentation on this Vital Brooklyn project, but it would be good to know more about it, since, you know, the residents in that area have concerns about, you know, the whole project and how it's unfolding and all that. So it would be good for us to all, even the board members, to all be on the same page. And there was also some concerns about parking, trash, the usual trash services. Also the environmental impact statement. You know, there was questions about that. So there's a number of things that, you know, came to our committee. I don't know if it's in the right place, but it would be good to know, given the fact that, you know, the whole 5G thing came to our committee and, you know, finally got addressed. I don't know what the update is. That was something else that came up as well in terms of what was the update. I did not receive any updates yet, so I don't know if there's anything that came to the office. I did send Dante a list of events for the service cabinet meeting, and he did respond to me, letting me know what he did and what's pending. So we are gonna follow up on some of those things at our next meeting. Also, as I said, the Vital Brooklyn project, apparently they are planning to do 9 buildings in the area vicinity around East 46th and Albany Avenue between Winthrop and Clarkson. Ms. Herbert, is that correct? So there are some concerns about the residents in that area, and I think, you know, as a board, maybe we need to provide more information and details, or, you know, if we can have, you know, the parties involved come in to do a presentation so that people can get their answers and concerns addressed, it would be good to know. So, I mean, I don't know who's chairing what committees as yet, but it would be good, you know, to interact with all the committees, because normally most of the committees are connected with certain, you know, issues as well. So it would be good to get more information on that. So the issue about flooding, rain, sewer, some of the things that I sent to Dante to address, you know, to get information on, you know, so hopefully we can get more feedback on those things. The residents are, you know, concerned and want to know whether there's going to be a town hall on this Vital Brooklyn project. You know, so it would, as I said, it would be good to know more as we move forward, so that we can, you know where things are being addressed, as opposed to being brought to other committees that is not aware of what's going on. That's another thing that we need to address on the board. If it's being discussed in one committee, I believe that it's important that, you know, that the questions be posed to those, you know, to that committee when they have their meetings. So yeah, another issue that came up was the fact that the housing committee hasn't had any meetings. The meetings were mostly canceled. So Mr. Sorid brought that up, and I'm not sure what's the status of that and what transpired, why there are no minutes and things like that. But I mean, my focus is on the Environmental Protection Committee. And, you know, I think that I did reach out to the board to find out more. I was told that, the minutes is on the website, which I did look at, and, there's hardly anything there to, really, talk about. So, it would be good to, get more information on, the status. I know that there's a new, chair, so hopefully he can address some of those issues, as we move forward.
Right.
And
Okay.
without further ado, let's see what else. I mean, we did talk about a lot, so, we're gonna be planning to do some outreach and, maybe some tours in the community, possibly some, cleaning up and things like that. So, again, as we move forward, hopefully we can, have better discussions, more substantive, without, all the interruptions and all that other stuff, which makes the meeting flow, in a better way. Also, Ms. Boyd brought up the fact that the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, the whole rezoning,
Ms. Timmy, I apologize, but I do need you to conclude your report because we do have to move on to the others as well.
okay, so I'm just gonna conclude with that. The Spice Factory thing, which I think that has been out there for a while, so hopefully, yeah, that can be addressed. I don't know what her questions are,
Okay.
but I'm gonna conclude there.
Okay,
And
very
thank
much.
you for the time, yeah.
Okay, all right, no, thank you very much. One thing I want to, well, just a couple of things that I wanted to touch on with respect to your report. So as far as resident committee members, I'm concerned because I know that we did fully staff. We did make assignments for all the committees, and they were to include both board members and resident members. So if you don't have any resident members, that means they're not showing up.
We don't have,
No,
we don't have any. As far
That's
as I
true.
know, we don't have any.
Okay.
no.
As the person who
we don't
made the
have any.
assignment, okay. As the person who made the assignment, you should have had resident members assigned to environmental protection. Well, hold on, actually, you know what? Before I do that, Dante, can you confirm, did we make appointments for residents?
Environmental protection was the only committee in which resident committee members weren't appointed.
Ah, okay,
See?
I'm sorry. I fall back, I stand corrected. My apologies for that. And some of that came from that we, from the applications we received, we hadn't had members. We didn't see anybody at that point that we were, able to make appointments for.
Okay.
We can work together to see if there's anybody we can recruit. I always advise and I ask all the board members to serve as ambassadors. If you know of members of the community who are in the space, who are interested, we can absolutely ask them to join. My apologies for that in terms of, insisting that we made the appointments. That was one of
Mr.
those.
Herbert, yeah, Mr. Herbert did mention that he knew some, residents that maybe, yeah, interested.
Just, I have a question, just a point of clarity. I do believe this was brought up at your lip last night as well, is that chairs have the ability, say Debbie, Suki, any chair has the ability to appoint a community resident if they express interest or they think they make a good appointment. Is that, I believe that's in the bylaws. Am I correct with that?
That is correct. I make the initial appointments. All committee chairs, and it goes to all the committee chairs, you are able to make additional appointments to your committees as well. Now, the only thing I would recommend is just make sure that these are people who are actually going to do the work and show up and show up, because that's what you really need. Otherwise, all they do is add to your quorum and make it more difficult for you to meet if they're not showing up, but they're on your roster. So, I mean, absolutely feel empowered. If there are people you feel are going to bring value to your committee that are going to help you move forward, please, absolutely. The only thing I would request is please connect them with the community board office. We would ask them just to fill out the application. I think there is a link. We would want them to do that just so that we can maintain their information on file. And then after that, I think there's no issues with making the appointment and they're on your roster and they're good to go. Okay. One other quick point I wanted to touch base with respect to the Vital Brooklyn. That was something that was in and out of the housing committee last year that didn't really, I'm not sure where that went with that, but that is something that is probably going to be, if there are any issues or questions, that would probably go through housing. Most of that project is a state project. So our touch point to it has been minimal in terms of they've come to us on occasion to say that they're going to give us updates, but in terms of shaping that project, that's not really been something through us. We have been working with Assemblymember Brian Cunningham with respect to that as well. So we're probably going to be trying to see if we can do some kind of communications jointly, or see if we can do some kind of outreach jointly as well, just so that way residents have an opportunity to express, their thoughts about the project and if there's any pain points that we need to be addressing in the community, especially around security, especially around parking and the things of that nature that need to be addressed with the project. So those will be things that I'll speak with the chair of housing. And again, as we get more additional updates, we'll make sure we pass that information along as well.
And also the Brooklyn Botanical Garden and the Spice Factory.
That
where
is more
is
likely
that?
going to go through ULURP. I will defer to the ULURP chair to see
Okay.
if they discuss that first. And if there, but I think that is going to be something that is coming under ULURP, so there will probably be additional conversations. But as I say that, that doesn't necessarily preclude other committees from having a voice in that as well, because there may be particular areas that your committee may have points, like for example, if there is a height requirement, you may be very interested in environmental protection in terms of the shadows. What are the shadows? What are the impacts on the electrical grid? What are the impacts in terms of services that are being provided? And that might be amongst several different committees as well. So you absolutely would have a touch point with respect to that. And we're going to make sure that the entire board has the access to that information as it's given to the board. So if there's information you need, please just let us know. We can try and make sure you get that. All right. Okay, I apologize. I do want to make sure that we're moving forward. We'll try and get questions as we can as well as.
May I ask a quick question, please?
Very quickly, we'll take yours and then we have to move on.
Which committee would address the epidemic of city bikes in Brooklyn?
More likely transportation. Where's Ethan? Can I throw him under the bus? Oh. There you go. All right, we'll throw him under the bus. So you're on deck soon. So we'll get to you, Ethan, very soon.
Yeah.
But no, but that's definitely something we've heard. It was a discussion last year, and it's going to continue to be a discussion. So, but we'll see what the report of the transportation committee is, and what if they have any conversations or discussions they've had so far. All right, but thank you for that. All right. So at this point, we're going to move on. Mr. Almanor, are you prepared for the report for Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sir.
Very much so. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you for having me back. As a chair of Park, Recreation, and Culture, we did have a meeting, which was a very successful meeting, where we take care of most of our housekeeping duties. We're able to elect vice chairs and recording secretary and their backup. We had a presentation from New Yorkers for Park, for which there was a resolution that was passed, that's part of our minutes. And we will continue to do that, but basically that's what we covered. We took care of most of our assignment, and then we started to plan for the events for the year. And one major event that's part of the minutes is that the committee is interested in doing a board-wide conference of all the community Park and Recreation community chairs to share good practices, experiences, and in moving forward. So we're working with the community gardens. We are linking, last year we worked on a assessment. We developed an assessment tool for neighborhood parks. So we are going to have subcommittee to follow that and present the result of our investigations. And we are look forward to, we are going to plan various activities, being art and performance activities with various community organizations, especially in the artistic area. For the year, hopefully we'll have the whole thing. So you could take a look at the live stream and the minutes submitted for most how I'm doing. So that's the extent of my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Two quick, well, are there any questions for the Parks, Recreation, Cultural Affairs Committee's chair? Okay, here we go. Thank you very much, and looking for a lot of great things from the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I spy our second vice chair, also chair of Health and Social Services. Do you have a report for this evening?
Hi, good evening, everyone, and again, welcome to everyone. Hope you had a great summer. We made September 7th. And I was very happy to see that the members have increased, but we have quite a bit of new persons on board. In discussion, I'm looking to work together with H&H to get to deliver masks and hand sanitizers to shelters as well as the senior centers, because as COVID is spiking up, again, a lot of the hand sanitizers that persons had last year, a lot of the sanitizers has expired. So I'll be getting new hand sanitizers and also masks to deliver to the shelters and the senior centers as well. We are looking to do a senior wellness event, but the issue that we are having is the venue. I spoke to Mia concerning the Carroll Gardens, but she's not certain. She'll be looking into it for me. Although Assembly Member Cunningham said that we can use his space, but it's an office space, so it's not big enough, wide enough. People will be too congested. So I'm looking for a venue where we can do a senior wellness event. Last month I did a senior spa day that some of you would have known. I did a senior spa day at Kings County, which was well received. And I'm looking to do one on this side. And Council Member Rita Joseph, she came and then she wants to work with us on that. Acknowledging our then Secretary, Mr. Puritt. I would really like us to acknowledge him in spite of his health issues. He came on, he did a wonderful job whilst he was there, getting the minutes together, sending the minutes, but because of his health issues, so he stepped down. And so I'd like the board and the committee to acknowledge him, whatever way that we could send something to him, just to show our appreciation for the work that he did whilst he was there with us. Also, we're with One Brooklyn Health, we'll be hosting diabetes awareness. It will be done. We did it before. We had a forum online before, and so we're looking to do this again, and then also to do healthy cooking, and we'll be doing it online as well. During the COVID, we did it. It was well received. People enjoyed it. So we will be doing it on healthy cooking. So we'll have different menus that they will be cooking online and with the recipes and everything. And also I had to bring in a new secretary. So we have a new secretary and someone who will be assisting her. So she herself will be putting the WhatsApp chat together so we can do work, we could meet and have discussion. And so so we could continue the work. So we are just waiting. I did ask her to touch base with Mia so Mia can give her the information for each person who was part of the committee, so she can have their contacts so she can do and put the WhatsApp chat together. So that's where we are. I don't have any action items. We are just planning for the new year. So if anyone knows of a location where we can have an event for the seniors and where we can do anything, please let me know. This is my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, actually, I do see one question from an attendee. Dante, if you can promote, I believe it's Ms. Boyd has a question. If you can promote her so she can ask her question. In the interim, while we're waiting for that, is there anyone else? Anyone has a question for the Health and Social Services Chair? Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's see.
Ms. Boyd is joining right now.
Okay, you can promote Ms. Barnes as well. We'll let her get her question and questions, that's all. Okay, are they in?
Maxine, there they are.
Okay, we'll take Ms. Boyd. Okay, Ms. Boyd, we'll take your question. Do you have a question?
people.
I'm not sure if she's having an issue with the audio. Ms. Barnes, did you have a question?
Yes, I had a question.
Yes.
Actually, it was for the environmental protection, but in retrospect, I guess it's for the health as well. And that is moving forward. Are there any plans to address the overdevelopment in our already dense community that the science has proven is detrimental to both our physical health and our mental health? The community would like for based on the global warming crisis that we find ourselves in, that both certainly health for our mental health, as I said, physical health and environmental protection, to do specific research and make recommendations for the overshadowing our clean air, bird migrations disruption, the removal of trees that we know that is essential.
I need
to our
your question to be
breathing.
more
So
succinct.
to summarize, King Fred, moving forward, are there any plans to address those critical issues? Thank you. Hello, everyone. Question. Did you understand the question? Should I repeat?
No, you don't need to repeat it.
Okay.
I think that, thank you for those questions. I think that those are definitely things that the board should be looking at. I would leave it to, I'm not sure if it's anything specifically that's been contemplated by the chairs, but absolutely, I think that is the space in your committees if those things do arise in terms of kind of formulating those questions and advising if there's any resources you need or any particular stances we should be taking. But thank you for the question. Ms. Boyd.
There's just several things that I think that needs to be addressed. One is,
Ms. Boyd, it's a question. If there's a question, yes.
can I get to the question? Would you like me to, can I get to the question without interrupting?
But it has to be brief, please, very quickly.
One of the issues that follows with the question is the fact that you constantly are doubling up meetings. We eventually will be going in-person meetings. You're not going to be able to continue to sit there and do Zoom meetings every time you decide that you don't want the public to show up. And as such, why are you constantly still allowing meetings to happen at the same time and in the same place? There's enough days in a month where you could be stagnating the meetings. So if you are going to do in-person meetings, and you will have to do that, I mean, the open law is still, the law is very clear that you have to have in-person meetings. And why aren't you then making sure that instead of having 2 meetings at the same time and then having them at the same place, which is CB9 office, that you start stagnating the meetings to ensure that one meeting happens in one day, so you're not constantly putting a lot of people together in one space. This will also help the community to be able to go to any meeting that they want to without having to pick and choose whether or not a meeting they want to attend or not. So I'm not sure why the executive committee is not thinking about the safety of the residents when they decide to put 2 meetings, there's like 4 or 5 meetings that are all on the same, that each have the same day. So why aren't we stagnating that? So that's the first question. The second one is, why do we keep being considered as residents in this community as second-class citizens where we're not allowed to sit there and see everyone in the meeting? We're not allowed to chat with anyone in the meeting. We keep being put down as if we don't have the right to actually be in a meeting, see everybody who's in the meeting, and be able to communicate with people in the meeting. This has been going on for quite some time.
Okay,
And
Ms. Boyd, is that your question in terms of, we need to.
Again, it's a concern that the residents has placed. And again, I'm asking, why isn't this format that constantly keeps being pushed at us is not addressed? Because people have made constant complaints to this community board about this Zoom format. When is that going to address? So I asked several questions. I hope that they will get answered and not just tell me that, oh, you asked the question and I'll, whatever.
Okay, for your first question, we stagger the meetings the way we do. And I guess this is helpful, especially for the newer members as well. The reason why the meetings are structured the way they are, we limit to no more than 2 meetings per day. We meet as an executive committee by the 3rd Tuesday of the month, which means really there are only about 10 business days where we can structure the meeting. Not even 10 business days, probably more 8, because we typically do not meet on the Fridays either. So there are 8 business days by which we can meet. So part of what we do is we do stagger where there's 2 meetings that happen per day. So that way we can get through all the meetings. So that way everyone can hopefully report by the time we actually meet by that 3rd Tuesday. That's the reason why we do that. Sometimes there's bounces, and I understand that people definitely have different interests. We try our best to accommodate those, but these are done in conversations with the chairs in terms of which meeting dates they prefer. And then not to mention also because there are times when religious holidays, religious observances, or other things happen that mean that we need to move meetings around. So we don't really have the luxury of saying 1 meeting per day and stagger that out throughout the entire month, because that doesn't allow us as an executive meeting or as a board to make sure we have all the information to do whatever votes we need to by the end of the month. As for your second
Always
question,
change the executive
Ms. Boyd,
later on in the week.
You asked, Ms. Boyd, this is not question and answer. You asked a question, I'm answering the question. With respect to the second question in terms of the Zoom format, the reason why we have done that is because we found that it is less distraction in terms of, rather than 75 people who are in there, the 50 people who are required to be there.
There's only
and be,
17 now.
Ms. Boyd. Those people who are required to be there are there. They are fully invested. They are paying attention to the conversation that is happening. At the appropriate times, we do have the ability to bring people in to ask questions or to give information as necessary, but it makes sure that we keep a focus in terms of what's going on in the meeting at that given time and who's speaking and what's being said, as opposed to different things happening in different places where there's this link and that link and other, various comments.
No chat. We can't chat amongst each other.
Ms. Boyd, thank you. So that is the reason why we do what we do. It may be mooted because we are moving, or we are moving towards in-person meetings. So to that extent, we are working as best as we can. But I think that one of the things we do try and do is make sure that we are able to hear people as often as possible in as many spaces as possible. Some spaces are just not as conducive to that, particularly when it comes to the executive meeting and with the general board meeting. All right, and with that, we've taken those questions. Thank you for those questions. If you have anything else, please feel free to contact the district office or myself, and we will address it as best as we can. All right, we are now going to continue moving on for this evening. I do see we have a new member, Mr. Cohen, for economic development, right? Correct?
Sorry, I missed that, Fred. How are you?
Doing well. All right, so listen, I know you joined a few minutes late. So right now we're just doing committee chair reports. So for today, we're staying about 2 minutes. On a go forward, we're asking that the report is submitted in advance. And if anything, you just give a 1-minute summary, but you do have the floor, sir.
All right, absolutely. First of all, hi, Fred, Dante, any other members of the office that are here. I think we had a very productive, I'll be frank, we had a pretty excellent first EDC, Economic Development Committee meeting. I feel that the constituency of the committee are people who really care about the community and the district's economic needs, either because they're business owners or they're looking to become business owners, or they're just looking to find ways to advance opportunities in our community. And we basically spent the first meeting kind of brainstorming because we feel that we have a relatively clean slate from where we could work off of with so many different opportunities. So amongst the things that we decided that we would focus on are, of course, supporting the small businesses in our neighborhood, trying to find ways to create new job opportunities, different initiatives like mentorship for small business owners, financial literacy programs for people of the community. We also all agree that there is, a lot of good minds in our district, and we want to try to find ways to allow those minds to innovate and to move forward. I specifically mentioned that if you go a little further downtown in Brooklyn, you have incredible innovation labs, and I've been at some of these, and I've met a couple founders from Crown Heights who they have to go down there, whether it's Brooklyn Navy Yard or NYU's Urban Future Lab, because as of now, they didn't feel that our community was the place that they needed to be at the time. So we basically spoke of different initiatives that we might want to take up over the year. And the real thing that we left off with was in preparation for next meeting, for the next committee meeting, we will all review these goals that we made, that we discussed, and we will each come with ideas to propose, and we'll discuss it and decide on which action items we should take. And I would also, we did not have a quorum for the meeting, so we were not able to appoint the vice chair. I do want to thank Khaled from the office for taking the minutes of the meeting for that previous meeting, and hopefully next meeting we'll be able to have someone who, or start a rotation of people who will be able to do that. So that's really all I got to say. I don't want to take up too much time.
Oh, thank you very much for that, and thank you for taking on the challenge of economic development. A lot of great things there. I'm looking forward to a lot of great things coming from the committee. One point that you had touched on, and this is for all chairs, and I'll talk about a little bit in my report. I want to make sure that we are all respectful of everyone's time. Between these committee meetings, the executive committee, your committees, everyone applies to be on these things. So, I mean, we need to make sure that people are respecting that commitment that they're making, that they're showing up, and that they're doing the work. So I need for everyone to please make sure, as part of your minutes, you are submitting your attendance. If there is anyone who's not been there one meeting, please note they haven't been there one meeting. If the next minute you notice that's 2 meetings they haven't been there, please make sure we're making that notation. And as quickly as possible, let's have a conversation, because we want to make sure that if we need to have conversations with members, we do that to remind them of their obligations. But if we need to keep it clean and remove them, we need to do that as quickly as possible. I want to make sure you are able to continue with your work and not have to deal with meetings where you don't have quorum. But thank you for that information. This goes for all the chairs as well. Thank you. Are there any questions for the chair of economic development? We can take a couple of quick ones. Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. We are going to move on. Let's see. Mr. Norville. I did say I was going to come back to you, didn't I? All right. Do you have a report for transportation? Ooh, your audio is a little bit choppy.
Shaky.
Yeah, it's garbled.
Yeah, now we can't even hear you.
You might want to sign back out and sign back in. Or... Yeah, it's been crazy the whole time. No, still no. Not getting audio from you, Ethan.
Okay, yeah, so try that, see if that helps. Or you know what, take off your video. Maybe that gives you some more bandwidth. Let's see what happens.
Seems to have pretty good bandwidth. This is videos.
Wait a second. Okay, just how are we doing now?
Much better.
Yeah, I think when your video is off, I think that might be.
Fred was right. Fred was right.
All right. Yeah, so try that. If you turn off your video, I think that might be the issue, because we heard you when you didn't have the video on.
Okay. Is this better?
Yep, keep going.
Well, maybe I should launch Zoom. Might help both.
Oh, I spoke too soon. Nah, it's still down.
Yeah, no.
All right. Yeah, Ethan, I apologize. If we can try this, can you try and log out and log back in? Let's see if that corrects the issue. Okay, so we'll hold on for you. We'll come back to you as soon as you come back in. All right. Let me see. Ms. Sean, you have the report for you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so our first meeting of the year for ULURP was very well attended. We had over 20 people there. As usual, we had to hit the ground running. We have outstanding a couple of ULURP applications. One is the 975 Nostrand Avenue Fresh Supermarket application. As you remember, that is a building with over 300 units of new housing, most of which is as of right, but they are applying for an extra 14 feet in height, which is about 1 story, to put back the old Associated Supermarket. So that is not a traditional ULURP vote. It is something that has to be certified by the City Planning Commission based on certain criteria. And So those criteria are, first of all, whether or not there's enough other supermarkets in the area, which I think we all agree there isn't, but also whether or not there's an undue impact on light and air for surrounding buildings, and whether or not they've proved that they need the extra height in order to build the supermarket. So those are questions that, you know, if there are community members who have comments on that, they can, you know, they're certainly welcome to comment. We welcome them at the meeting. There was one community member who says she lives nearby who expressed concern about congestion and parking from the extra units. This is a common concern that we're hearing from throughout the district. We also heard from people who were concerned about the impact of Vital Brooklyn. Again, it's a huge amount of development. We've been saying this last year. It's about 1,500 units of housing. There's also a proposed rezoning in CB17 next door, which would increase the zoning density on some of these corridors. So, you know, the impact on parking especially seems to be a big sticking point for people. You know, a lot of it is going to be supportive housing. People are concerned about that. So that was raised. Again, it is not a ULURP process. We as a board do not get to vote on it the way we do with a rezoning application, because the state has the right to override local zoning. They do have what they call general project plan hearings. Some of those happened last year. Some of them have not happened yet. The one from Kingsbrook apparently has not happened yet. But the board office has been sending out those notices. People do need to keep their eye out for that and attend the meetings. They're held by the Empire State Development Corporation. We did hold one hearing for the Clarkson as a ULURP committee for the Clarkson Avenue development, which I believe at this point is underway. So again, there's a number of developments in that. Some of them have already been voted on. They've had their general project plan hearings. I think one of them has not. You know, again, if the board office can keep everybody informed, the public needs to know that they have a right to attend these hearings. Okay, so so old business, we addressed the City of Yes for carbon neutrality. That's something that it's a citywide zoning text amendment that changes a lot of the rules about what kinds of mechanical equipment can go on rooftops and parking lots and so on. And so that was something we spent a lot of time discussing at the subcommittee level last year. I thought we came out with some good recommendations. It's not clear yet how those recommendations are being affected. You know, at some of the citywide hearings, we're hearing other community board chairs say, you know, we also put a lot of work into this. We want to know how our comments are being taken into account. I think the bottom line is this hasn't entered city council review yet, but that is generally where changes are negotiated. So this was passed by the city. This is at a point where it was passed by the City Planning Commission, which was expected. There are commissioners who are expressing similar concerns to ours about the kinds of things that can go on rooftops, what that's going to do to our residential neighborhoods. There was one commissioner who voted no because he's very concerned about the battery storage issue and the safety of that. One commissioner didn't vote. I don't know, you know, if she had concerns. But this is, you know, again, something where, as Debbie and others mentioned, there may be other committees who have opinions and interests. And definitely we've had good attendance by some other members of other committees at the subcommittee and at our ULURP committee to talk about some of the underlying environmental issues. And we definitely appreciate that. So in terms of new business, we have another round of City of Yes. This time it's City of Yes for economic opportunity. It's addressing some of the commercial zoning rules. But, you know, and I was very happy that we had somebody from the Economic Development Committee come and participate in our meeting. So you're very welcome to do that. It's again a very big proposal. There are 18 separate proposals from city planning within economic opportunity. So we decided that it would be more efficient and allow us to focus more on this proposal if we could form a subcommittee. So we did vote to form a subcommittee to focus on these issues and to make recommendations to the general ULURP committee. So that is an action item that we would like you to focus, ask you to put through to the general board to vote on our subcommittee. The timeline is going to be tight. The amendments will be referred to the City Planning Commission in October. And from there, the City Planning Commission will review it. I don't know if there's like a set timeline for them to do it, but it's expected to enter public review sometime around January of next year. So, you know, again, I think there will be plenty of opportunities for the board to comment, but the earlier that we get our suggestions in, the more likely it is to actually make a difference, as opposed to us just having to say, you know, heck no, this is not in line with what CB9 wants. And yeah, I guess that's it. We did not get a chance yet to elect a vice chair. Mia was kind enough to take the minutes for the meeting. Have you guys gotten them yet? I touched base with her on it yesterday afternoon, so I assume she submitted it.
They're not on the website yet.
I can't say I recall seeing that I've seen it
Okay.
yet, but I'm sure it'll be coming up shortly.
Okay.
Okay, but I did have the one for Sydney. You said there was one action item. What did you want for there was an action item that came out of the committee?
That we would like to form a subcommittee to focus on the City of Yes for economic opportunity and make recommendations back to the ULURP committee.
Okay, so we're looking for a resolution similar to what we did last year for the City of Yes
Yes.
subcommittee.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
And if I can touch base with you about that also, Fred, that would be great.
Okay, I think what we can do this evening, we can have as an action item, we can vote on, we can move it forward to the board in terms of the subcommittee. If there's language or anything we need to do, we can talk about that offline and have it set up for next week.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Excellent.
All right, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Is there anything else?
No, just really that, you know, I would share what Chair Timothy is saying, that, you know, there seems to be a lot of concern from around the district about the effects of added density and development. There really has not been a look at what the cumulative effects of all these developments are. As a land use committee, when we look at specific rezoning applications, the EIS pertains specifically to that development and to other rezoning actions within a couple of blocks, but it doesn't encompass as of right development, and it doesn't encompass large developments that might be further away. So we may not be capturing the full effect on our district. And, you know, again, this is something that people seem to be very concerned about. Transportation chair, I'm calling you a parking, you know, so there's a lot of sewers, you know, shadows. It's a variety of different things, and it seems to be coming, you know, just the effect of construction on people in their homes. It's really seems to be coming from throughout the district. So I think it's worth taking into account. And
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. Definitely. So we're going to consider that action item. And to your point, I think there's a lot of things that we need to be looking at. Just even as an aside, I think that it's amazing for me that even with all the buildings they built, I don't think I've seen too many buildings where anything's ever been affordable. So I don't see where this whole idea of build has ever even yielded anything that's been beneficial to any communities yet. But those are the questions we ask, and that's the data we should be asking for. But thank you for the work that you and your committee have started on. And we'll definitely make sure that we're continuing that and supporting you as best as we can.
Oh, and one more thing, 975 Nostrand Avenue fresh application has not entered the community board formal community board comment period yet. Dante has said that when it does, he will let us know. We'll have 45 days to comment on it. Likewise with 962, 972 Franklin Avenue, there was a scoping hearing over the summer for the environmental impact statement. There has not been a final environmental impact statement issued yet. When there is, there will be another round of public hearings and the public process will begin. So we'll definitely let you guys know. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who want to comment.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we need to move along. Ethan, are you back on? Are you good?
Yeah, I believe I am back on. Is my audio coming through pretty well?
Yep, you sound good. Sound great, sir. You sound great.
All right, thank you guys.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No question.
So with the report?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Sure. So on the first meeting, we were able to elect a few folks, secretary, vice chair, and it was a bit of a long meeting. We had a session where we, heard some new issues from people who were trying to voice them. And there seems to be a lot of, negative sentiment, some parts of the bus redesign. There's a lot of pushback against the car share locations for sure. And there also is a lot of pushback against some of the city bike expansion locations in the district too. Majority of the district and of the committee seems to be kind of unified in those concerns. There is a small minority group that definitely is okay with these and wants to keep them in place. But it looks like roughly it's like a 70-30% split. For those who are trying to have those concerns addressed and those who don't want to have any changes. So far, people are pretty much looking ready to vote on recommendations to have a bit of a slowdown on city bike expansions, as well as the bus network redesign. The 49 is so far the biggest issue. Are calling out about that. They want the southbound 49 to stay on Bedford as opposed to move to the Nostrand. So that would be a pretty quick vote. We did vote on that actually, but we can probably either bring that to the next, full board meeting or continue in the committee for one more review. Same thing for car share. So far, there has been a vote on relocating a couple of car share locations to more commercial zones, but the committee wants to make sure we have a pretty comprehensive list of all of the car share spots that should be relocated and have that done in one fell swoop. Apart from that, other issues that people are eyeing would be the parking on the fire department station. There's, the sight lines are being kind of obstructed by those cars there. People are, wanting to change that or at least relocate the FVNY parking on that area. We're seeing some concerns about not enough bike lanes in the district and connectivity between them. I was actually kind of caught up on these before the meeting even happened. So I'm assuming you know about some of these already, like the added traffic calming or stoplight on Washington Avenue around the Botanic Garden area. We're looking to get some buy-in from the Botanic Garden itself so that we'd have a bit of a united front with them too. There has been some requests for traffic calming around Flatbush and Beekman and Maple. That's a pretty dicey area. People want to have some additional controls there just to ensure sight lines are easy for pedestrians and drivers and that speed isn't too excessive around that area. Generally, those are the big issues we're seeing, and they there are a few small concerns too about the major Owen Center having some bike racks around there so that people have, more of a, so it can be more of a hub for different transport types. But those are the general new concerns kind of bubbling up to the surface in the committee. But the big ones so far seem to be the bus network, the 49 southbound, the car share location program. People aren't necessarily against it. It's more of a push for relocation than removal. I think if I were to estimate the fours or against it, it'd probably be around 60-40 or 50-50. But relocation is definitely the thing that needs to pass through as quickly as possible. And as soon as we get a list of the spots that are in sub-ideal locations, I think we'd have a vote pretty quickly on relocating them. And also, we might even provide a bit of a plan as to what would make a good car share location so this doesn't keep happening.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, you have anything else or?
No, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, you've got a lot on your plate. Absolutely. And thank you for taking on this role. I think, let me just see if I can get a couple of quick hits with respect to the Major Owens and that bike rack. That was just a supply chain issue where I believe they were waiting to get those racks because that order has been in, but that's something the DOT has to get from another vendor. So they have been waiting for some time with that. Some of the other conversations are conversations we need to have about DOT and the way they do some of these things. They've been more notorious in terms of you get the list later on about this is where we're putting them, and in the middle of the night they put them up, and we're left to deal with where they got put and how many are there and how many parking spots they've taken and everything else. So that's a challenge that's been with DOT. So that's a matter of we really need to try and have a conversation about changing the way that dynamic works. For a lot of the other issues, and especially including traffic calming, I think that one of the things we had started talking about last year is we need to have a more holistic dialogue about what the issues are with traffic in the city. I think we've had a number of speed humps that have been denied in the past because they come back with numbers and they say, well, no, your average numbers are close to what the city average is, so you don't deserve it. The conversation around that has never been about, well, no, it's not that the numbers aren't average, but you get those guys who are doing the 50, 60, 70 and trying to run lights and everything like that. Those are the ones that are really dangerous. So even though most everybody is a law-abiding citizen, you get those other people who aren't. And how do we address those things and how you increase safety in the district? And we want to make sure that it's a holistic plan, and including if it's speed humps, if it's speed cameras, if it's increased enforcement, all those other things. But we want to make sure that it's not just we're playing whack-a-mole, solve one problem, hit one problem and everything else. Let's talk holistically about how do you deal with safety in the district. So there's definitely some conversations that I think we should have. I want to make sure we catch you up to speed with some of that. I know that we actually have a conversation with the district, the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner. He is supposed to be coming into the district for one of your meetings at some point soon. So let's discuss that so we can prep you, so we can get him in here to make sure he's responsive to the things that you discussed in your committee. One thing I would recommend for you, and I recommend this for all the committee chairs as well, is one of the things that's always helpful is that we don't, if we take a vote and say CB9 is against something, it means CB9 is against something, but it doesn't give enough of it doesn't give enough information in terms of why we're against something. And I think those are the things that are important. I want us to start looking as a board in terms of moving towards resolutions as opposed to just votes, because the resolutions, they do the two things where they, one, state what the issues are and the facts are as we see them. So we can talk about crash data, we can talk about accidents, we can talk about deteriorating infrastructure, we can talk about all those things and establish those facts. And at the end of that, we do the resolution in terms of these are the 4 or 5 things we think need to be done to take care of that. I think it's a much better way, it's a much more pointed way to do that. It's something that, one, we can actually give to those agencies that are responsible, and we can share that with our elected partners as well. And they have the sheet in terms of these are the 5, 6 things that my district is, they concerned about, and these are the facts on the ground as far as everybody in the district is concerned. But I do want to thank you for that. So there's some follow-up conversations I definitely want us to have, and I want us to be prepared to move on in some of these issues because some of these have been long-standing, and I think that we're at that point. We're way past the stage we need to be addressing. Okay, we can take two quick questions for Ethan. Well, are there questions for the transportation chair? I see a couple of hands. Are there any questions?
I have some questions from the previous chair. And it has to do with what Ethan is discussing as well, is the city council in 2021 voted to make racial impact studies part of New York City's land use process. And I haven't seen that used or referred to at all, not once. And that all of this is affecting our district and CB9. We've got a big problem with the cars, the 5G, the bikes, like all this stuff, and the development. It's basically development. You know, we've got so many developments around us, and some of them are very shoddy, dangerous practices are happening. And where's the racial impact study? I don't see that happening. What happened to that? Where is that? And right now, it seems like I saw some permits go through for other streets in our neighborhood, but our neighborhood, my street, they dug up the whole street. They've got there's cement all over the street, pooling in the street. It's horrible. It smells like a sewer and oil from all the dirt they dumped out there. My neighbors are all upset. We didn't get any notice that this was happening. They towed cars, they left a mess, they threw around a bunch of junk. They've got these huge, it's like concrete, it's a combination of concrete, the black asphalt, and these metal grates across the street that every time a car goes by, it goes ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. They left a disaster here. We don't even know what it is. I mean, we talked to Dante, my neighbors have called, and said they weren't treated very nicely, by the way. But anyway, it's a mess out there. They smashed my sidewalk. They damaged my tree pit. It's bad, you know, and this just has happening. They said they were going to move the cars for our block party, the lift cars. They didn't, you know, they moved one, but it was still blocking our block party, even though they said they'd been moved. They said they'd been moved. They weren't. I have pictures of all of this. So, you know, my neighborhood is being seriously impacted. You know, I don't know about anybody else. Some of you aren't so close to these developments, but it is terrible. And I don't know why the other neighborhoods, why Lefferts Garden is getting notices about these cable, fiber, whatever it is, installation. We don't even know what it is, you know, and why didn't we get a notice?
I'm sorry, Fred, but I can't let Ms. Westerdahl continue to just sit here and act like the board office has the same resources as the Department of Finance, as a city council office, as other elected officials' offices. She keeps wording, well, why didn't we get notice? Why didn't we get notice? You didn't get notice because I didn't get notice. That's your answer. And you know that's the answer.
I'm not necessarily blaming you.
All right. Order the day.
I emailed that to you earlier today.
Why didn't we get notice? Like, meaning my neighborhood, you know, and including you.
Order of the day. All right, so with that being said, so Dante, I think that's one of those things. So we just need to make sure that we are liaising with the appropriate entities, because there is a gap. So if there are notices that are not being given, we need to make sure that that starts happening.
The gap is in the administrative code, and I sent that same language to Ms. Westerdahl.
Okay, so listen, let's work offline in terms of who we need to do. And if we need to get extra people, if it's between Borough Hall, or if we need to get a couple of the elected officials on top of that, let's do that as well. But let's make sure we work to correct that. Thank you for that, Ms. Westerdahl.
What do we do about this big mess? Like, what do we do? I don't even know what to do. It's like awful.
Okay, hold on, Ms. Westerdahl. Have you already taken pictures? Have you given that to the board office?
I haven't, but Nicola's mother and some other people have. I actually had to leave my house because it was so bad. I couldn't be.
No, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to cut you off.
I just want to make sure I get them from you.
Well, hold on. All I need is to make sure that.
Yeah.
Okay, Dante. All we need is to make sure we can't act on what we don't know. So if you or anyone else has pictures of this, please make sure they forward it to the board office. From that point, we can address whatever with the appropriate agencies and entities. But I mean, I want to be very clear, and this goes for everyone. We don't know what we don't know. So as somebody who lives on one block, I don't know what happens on Hawthorne. I don't know what happens on Sullivan. I don't know what happens specifically on Utica. So we count on people letting us know what's going on with these things, and from there we can try and do these things. And to the point where the more people do this, the more data we can put towards these. And then especially when we get to the budget process later on, and when we get to the community needs statement, we can start putting quantities about, there are 75 complaints about this. It always happens. So then we can put the appropriate pressure in the places that we need to make sure that things are getting done. All right, we do need to move forward. Ms. Leopold, I know you had a question. Mr. Herbert, if you're a new guy, I'll let you get yours in too, but then we're gonna move forward, okay? All right, Ms. Leopold.
Yeah, I just want to the transportation chair, just ask him to move this agenda when it comes to the bikes, because every night you go to bed, when you wake up, there's another 5 or 10 bike racks in the community, and the community we've been for years been suffering for parking, and those bikes are just coming and taking 3, 4, 5 and 10 parking spots, and no one is saying anything to us. The last time that I met with the council member Rita Joseph, she was adamant that she was going to address it. She said she spoke to the Department of Transportation, and then she told them that they should not erect another rack unless they talk to her office. And I know that there are other communities where they put placing them, and the members come out, they complain, and then they ask DOT to remove them, and they do remove them. And I find that nothing is happening in this community, and it's like every day you go in a different corner there, and then parking, we have to be circling around looking for parking, and so the majority of them are just sitting there and they're not being used. So I just hope that the chair, you will push that. You can have a conversation with Rita Joseph, and then also I think the chair also mentioned it, and Ms. Westerdahl, the speed bumps. So there are a lot of speed bumps that certain areas they're putting them on my block. We asked for the speed bump. They came, they graded the street, they repaved the street, and they did not give us this speed bump. So we would like, if you talk to the board office, they already have our numbers and everything for Lefferts between Bedford and Washington. So we would like very much if you can take this up for the speed bumps in the community and those bikes. Because if nothing has been done, I'm going to mobilize a group and demonstrate the city, because something has to be done. This is our community, and we cannot allow this to continue.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Herbert, you have the floor. Your question.
All right, thanks. Just to follow up on what Ms. Westerdahl said with regards to the oils and the other contaminants that are being spilled on the roadways, right? A call should go out to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Spill Response.
I can't hear you.
You can't
Yeah,
hear me?
Mr. Herbert, you're a little bit low.
Go to somebody else. Let me check my audio. I'll come back.
You're not too bad. Keep going. I think we got you.
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Okay. So what should happen? If there's a spill or any contaminants that are in the roadway potentially going into a storm drain or a sewer, all right, the DEC spill response unit should be called immediately. All right, if you just go on the website and type in DEC spill response, right, they will send a unit out, right, to check, make sure that nothing is going into the waterways. All right, if it's cement, because generally construction trucks have to have a washout area for their cement trucks. That's caustic material. It's supposed to be contained. And if oil goes into the catch basins, or that's a whole nother set of violations, right? And the city has to make sure that their permit to discharge stormwater into the waterways is not affected. So a call should go out to the DEC right away.
DEPC?
The Department of Environmental Conservation, their phone number is 1-800
Wait.
457-7362. All right.
1-800.
They will send someone out from the state
What
to
is
take a
it
look
again?
at that right away.
Can you repeat it, please?
Sure. 1-800
Yeah.
457-7362.
7362. Okay, I'm gonna call that. They are regularly,
Okay.
it's definitely going into the storm drain
okay.
and that's regularly happening
All right.
in these
Okay, so
developments
just
in my
give
neighborhood.
them a call so that can start.
Yeah, Mr. Herbert, thank you for that information. If I could
Oh,
ask
thank
if you
you.
could do us a favor as well, can you email that to the district office? That way we can keep that on file as well as a resource?
Roger that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. I think, and I apologize in advance. Are there any other committee chairs that I have not called? I apologize in advance if I've missed you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So that concludes our committee reports. All right. So on a go forward basis, I know
Fred,
that this is something.
can I-
Yes.
Just 1 second. I was wondering if this is asking your opinion, might be appropriate to share a little bit about, from the Public Safety Committee's perspective, the conversations that have arisen around Guyana Maya 410 Flatbush.
You know what? I want
It's
to
not
hold off.
committee. It's not committee, but I feel like we should share something about it at some point
You know,
soon.
the only thing is, well, let me ask this. Well, actually, Dante, do you have it as something on your as an administrative item for you?
I do not.
Okay, Primo, the only reason why I hesitate is because it might be something that actually comes up and I don't want to prejudice it more. I don't want to necessarily prejudice anything until it actually becomes an agenda item, and then we can have all the conversations we need to have.
All right, I leave it to your discretion.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, all right, so thank you all for all the chairs. Now, one of the conversations we've had, and I know our first vice chair has been very adamant about that. You know, I want to make, you know, one, thank you. You're, you know, as committee chairs, you're here because you give us as officers the information we need to know in terms of what's going on, the issues that we should be looking out for, and you tell us what the action items are going to be in terms of what we need to vote on. With that being said, as you've already given your reports, I've heard one action item. I heard one action item from the chair of ULURP for a subcommittee to be formed. Was there another action item that needed to be taken?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Any other committees with an action item, something that the board needs to vote on for this September meeting?
Yes, I do have one. This is Nicholas on Park Recreation. Is the committee has voted to back New Yorkers for Parks to do their 1% petition and letter. So that's one of the action item we have.
Okay, so Parks Records, so to back, I'll need the wording for that item,
Yes, okay.
for that group, and ULURP City of Yes.
Well, there's a letter, then I'm going to forward to the post office and a sample resolution that we can fill out and send and put together.
Okay, all right, so we'll need that for the Tuesday meeting then. Okay, so with that, I have those two items. For all the chairs, thank you again for your service. I will be reaching out to all of you. This is something that I wish that we had an opportunity to do previously, but I do want to reach out to you just in terms of making sure that, you know, we have a conversation about what's going on. I understand the dynamics for each of your committees. And then on a go forward basis, you know, you let me know if there's any support that you need from either me or from the district office as well. So with that, the committee chairs are free to leave. At this time, you are more than welcome to stay if you wish. We are going to move on in the agenda. We have three more items. We're going to have the committee, the district manager's report. I'm going to provide a brief chairperson's report. And at that point, we are going to set the agenda for this upcoming meeting. All right, so I will now hand over the floor to district manager, Dante.
All right, good evening, everyone. I will be brief as well. I'm sure that you all are familiar with the recent shooting that happened on Carroll Street. I will be requesting an update from the 71st precinct on that matter at the district service cabinet next week. So once we get more details on that, I will be sure to relay that to the board. The CB9 district needs survey is live. It's been out. We want to push as many people to fill out the survey as possible. We're going to send it out separately, just as a survey, not a part of the e-blast as it's been going out. We want to give people an opportunity throughout the district to submit ideas, thoughts, concerns as it pertains to district needs. If anyone is interested in filling it out, have them just reach out to the board office. We can send them some supplemental information. But again, it's really free for thought, right? Like let people fill it out in their own terms so we can see exactly how people are feeling about some of the issues that are happening in the community. Free, yes, okay. Composting, the free weekly service will begin October 2nd. So if you see anybody putting out food in their composting bin, please let them know that it's not going to be picked up by the city until October. So they might need to address that beforehand. Folks still have an opportunity to sign up for a free composting bin from sanitation. You have until October 13th to do that. We do have flyers. It's been in the e-blast. So anyone who's interested, if they're signed up for the e-blast, the flyer's in there, a link is in there as well that they can select and just sign up. Piggybacking, DSNY is going to have a compost give back event. It's actually going to be at Dr. Ronald McNair Park. It's scheduled for October 21st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That information will be in our e-blast as well. If you know anybody who composts, definitely direct them to the office and we can get them information to connect them to DSNY accordingly. This went out last week also on the e-blast, but there is alternate service to the Q line. Alternate service did start this past weekend, and it will there will be alternate services on various weekends through November. That notice will remain in the e-blast. So anyone who may need that, please direct them there or have them reach out and we can give them that. Some people may have filled it out. I'm not sure if everyone got it, but the Department of Health did send out a neighborhood wellness survey. Now, this is a mail-based survey to identify New Yorkers' health-related needs. I'm not particularly sure if everyone got it. I did fortunately get one. It didn't have my name on it, so I don't know how they randomly selected, but if you do have it, fill it out. You can also fill it out online if you got the packet, and you can use the information in the packet to fill it out online. This kind of reflects on some of the information that was brought up earlier, but there is utility road work scheduled to commence on Hawthorne Street and Empire Boulevard next week. Those notices will be in the e-blast, and they were also sent out to the board and resident community members. Separate note, so you all may be familiar with the B12 bus stop at Utica. That bus stop was relocated across the street, across Utica to the eastern side. Prior, there was a ghost bike that was attached to a light pole at that location. I'm proud to say that, you know, I was able to work with the mayor's office to get that bike relocated to literally a pole that was 10 feet down. And because of that, we were able to get the bus shelter installed at the new relocated bus stop on the eastern side of Utica. So you should see that bus shelter there, but I'm pleased to say that they finally got it installed. It took some time, but they finally got it. So that's that. A heads up, we have a while, but the next marathon in our area is going to be at Prospect Park. That's not scheduled until December. Once we get the road closures from the hosting org, we'll send all that out in the e-blast. Just wanted to note that. Also, we've been receiving a lot of calls about block parties. If you're a part of a organization, a block that's going to be doing block parties, I urge you, I encourage you to inform the folks who organize to pick your dates months in advance. A year is great. If you can think about it now, go ahead and do it now, because we have been literally just saturated with phone calls, and Mia's done a very good job of balancing the act. If you can pick those dates out in advance, I would definitely encourage that so you can get those dates. And then last thing I will say is, and what I always say is, if you know anybody who isn't connected to the board, they have internet access, definitely have them reach out to us so we can get them connected to our e-blast. If they don't have internet access, still have them reach out to the board office, give us a call. We will figure out how to get them information so they're connected to things that are happening in the community, public hearings and other information coming out from city agencies and nonprofits. Okay, so with that, that's my report.
I muted myself. All right, are there any quick questions for the district manager? Ethan, I see you.
Yeah, quick question. Looking at the e-blast, I noticed there was pretty much no way to access the district needs survey.
Okay,
It was hyperlinked in an image and the image didn't have that link on it. So
okay,
you'd have to essentially try your best to Google it and see if you can find it online somewhere else. Just as a quick note, maybe for some of these, you can either add buttons or probably link the image itself so that it can go out where they need to go.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could definitely do that. All right, I appreciate you bringing that note. Thanks.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right, are there any other questions for the district manager?
Sir.
Okay, hearing none, thank you very much for that, Dante. I'm going to give a very abbreviated chairman's report. Not much, I just want to give some quick hits. I'll definitely go into depth a little bit more when we get to the general board meeting. And I think some of the points have already been covered by a number of the chairs as well. So I think one of the things that I definitely wanted to mention was with regards to the education library and the youth services. I think that it's one of those things that symbolizes us trying different things. This is a conversation I know that Sol has talked about this for a while. I think that we finally came to the point where it's like, listen, this is something, yeah, why not give it a shot? I'm looking forward to great things for it. I think it's an example of, yes, we can sometimes try different things to see what works the best. I think when you look at our bylaws, you can see that our bylaws are a document that have existed for a number of years. Doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement. And I think one of the things we want to do is not be afraid of trying new things, because we don't know what we'll find. And if there's any ways that we can make the way the board operates better, I think we should definitely be looking at those things. I definitely wanted to talk about the committees that they're stood up. I'm very happy with the responses that came back from the board members. One of the issues that I did want to point out with that is that even though we had a great response, I think we had probably more responses than I've ever seen. We also had a significant non-response in terms of board members who did not respond to the survey. That's problematic. We need for people to make sure that they are responding to emails, that they're looking for the links, that they're giving back the information when we request it. It's the way we stay in touch with people. It's the way we find out what people feel about things. And particularly if we need information from the board, this is how we gather information. So one of the things I would want to make sure that we ask everyone is to please make sure you are checking your emails on a regular basis. You will get tons of information from the board office, guaranteed. But a lot of this information is necessary as well to make sure that you are informed, that we are an informed board, so that way we can make sure that we are speaking from a point of information, and we're not doing homework at the table and prolonging meetings and really kind of disrespecting the time for everyone else who's at the meeting at the time. That also goes along with the expectations of the committees and the members. I just want to make sure that, again, I'm really excited about this board, especially looking at some of the talent that we have here. And it's just a matter of, we need to make sure that we live up to that expectation. We live up to the commitments we make. We're in the places we say we need to be. We're doing the homework in advance. And also, just as even one step further, that we are carrying ourselves as board members, as representatives of the district. We are 50 members out of a district of over 120,000. So I think that really speaks to the caliber of the people who are here. But that means that we have a responsibility to make sure we are representing our district and everyone else as well. So that means in terms of the way we're attending, in terms of the way we carry ourselves, in terms of the behaviors we allow and that we don't tolerate as well as a community. So I just put that out for now, and just to keep that in mind. Land use. Land use is going to be a lot. We're going to hear a lot coming from the ULURP committee over the next few months. We're going to be making every effort we can to make sure that we can get everyone up to speed. It can be very technical. It can be very dry in points, but we need for everyone to make sure that they understand that. So to those points, I know Borough Hall is planning on several workshops and learning sessions where we can hopefully get up to speed in terms of some of the terminology and the processes. I ask for board members to please avail themselves of those opportunities. And if there's anything we need to do in terms of home training or home-based training, we can do that as well. District office and I have, we've developed trainings in the past, and definitely I think it always helps us in terms of being better board members. And if there's anything that you would like to see in terms of training, please let us know so we can incorporate that in terms of helping everybody get acclimated. Again, just to the point, Borough Hall is actually going to be doing a number of trainings. I believe there is one scheduled on the 28th. I believe it's on housing, actually. So it might be one, I think all board members should have received those as well. Please make sure, if you can attend those, so please make sure you go. And it's also helpful to bring back those learnings too. So if you hear something that might be useful for the board, to bring that information back, or even, if we can, if we don't have an opportunity, as for the board members to do it, we can recreate it here at the board. And that last point, just with regards to virtual meetings, I began with this. This is definitely not something that we wanted to be in the space we wanted to be in. But between myself, I think one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we are keeping people safe, first and foremost, but also that making sure that we're able to get the business of the board done and the district done. So to those points, we have had virtual meetings for the month. That is not to be expected as the mode going forward. We will see what happens in October, but we are going to do that with an eye of making sure that, one, everyone is safe, but again, making sure that the board's business is able to be accomplished. That is all I have for right now. Are there any quick questions for me, at this time? Okay, Mr. Norville, I see you. I saw Ms. Westerdahl's hand up, and we'll see when she's back. Go ahead, Ethan. Yeah, Ethan, you had a question?
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly add something and just say that, it would make sense for people to also, if you can, probably filter out, community board emails so that they're all by themselves in one spot. Because it's pretty easy to get emails lost, because we all get so many a day. Having a specific place where you get community board related communications might help everyone just stay up to date and not have any issues with missing emails and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you very much for that point. All right, Ms. Westerdahl, I see you had your hand up. Do you have a question for me in the report?
Well, I do have a question. Can you hear me? About the executive board, just more or less a housekeeping question. I attended the CEC Civic Engagement Commission sessions that we were given the opportunity to attend. And I went for some, Robert's Rules of Order, some of the board training sessions. And I noticed, and I was looking at attendance as well, that for the executive board, that everybody's supposed to serve on a committee. And I noticed last year that didn't seem to happen, that the executive board is also, the executive board, I believe the language is serves at the pleasure of the community board. So it's not really a committee, so that everybody who's on the executive committee needs to serve on a board as well. So I didn't see that happening. Some people are chairs, but also some people are not. I didn't see that reflected in the attendance of all the meetings. And I haven't been able to see all the meeting minutes, but I was looking at the past and the history, and I noticed that isn't happening.
Not sure in terms of what specific, if you could send me the citation in terms of what the Civic Education Commission said with respect to that. Our position has been that, and usually what I think you see is executive members, officers of the board typically will serve on committees or even chair committees. So we've seen that historically, but per the bylaws, all members are required to serve on at least one committee, and the executive committee has satisfied that requirement. It does satisfy that requirement. So some
No, that's my point. Excuse me, Chair. That's my point, is that it was clearly noted. And I do have a copy of the slide that they gave us, that the executive committee is not a committee, as in all the committees that we have, that it serves at the pleasure of the board, and that it cannot be counted as a committee. So everybody needs to serve on an official committee. It's not a official committee. I'm sure of it.
Well,
And
send
I
it to
could, I
me.
could send you that slide and
Sure.
it was discussed at the,
Sure. Send
at
it
the
to me.
CEC meeting.
No problem. Send it to me and I'll
Everybody,
take
you
a
know,
look at it.
everybody was talking about it and I
Okay.
got clarity and I looked at the bylaws and it's pretty clear and everybody's supposed to go to 5 committee meetings as well.
Understood.
And not
and-
counting executive board
No, no,
doesn't
I mean, I
count.
don't want to belabor the point because we do have to finish the agenda. I'm just saying, send that over to me. We can take a look at it. And if we have some other conversations we have to have, I can take care of that. But let me just start by seeing the document first. I can do that. But thank you for that.
It's Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you. Just send the doc. Okay, Dante, yes, you had a question or?
Yeah, just a quick statement. I just want to say the sentiment among the other district managers throughout Brooklyn is that community boards are their own independent agencies. And so they are governed by their own bylaws. Just a note.
Okay, and all that will be considered. I mean, I'm not afraid of looking at that, and if there's anything we can do better or improve, or if we're deficient somewhere, we can look at all that. But we'll be able to make that determination once we get that documentation. But thank you for that information, Dante, and Ms. Westerdahl. I look forward to getting the document. Thank you. Okay, all right. We are going to move on to the next item of the agenda. Actually, I had one last thing. So the one last thing I had for the chairman's report is the one unfinished piece of unfinished business we had from last year was that we were not able to complete our elections for member at large. So that is going to have to be completed at this September meeting. So there was one member at large who was elected. There was the second position, no one achieved the majority vote that was required. So typically we would have to do a runoff at the same meeting. Unfortunately, because of time and because we were being, we could not stay at the location, we had to adjourn the meeting. So that is unfinished business that will be picked up at this September meeting. So that will be one of the items that will be on the agenda for the fall, for the September meeting. We will elect that second member at large. Okay, all right. We are now going to go into the agenda for the month. All right, so we are going to open. I'm going to call to order. This is for the public session.
Stahl has a quick question.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, Sol. I'm sorry. Yes.
I couldn't find the hand in the hand thing. And I don't know if this might have actually fit in the next section. But because I have to get ready to go, I just wanted to make a quick mention of something. So the other day, I was walking down the street and saw a former student of mine from Medgar Evers College, and we were speaking. So she lives in the community board, and I asked her, does she want to join and become involved with the community board? So the feedback she gave was around, when she has gone and attended meetings, she saw there was like a lot of people arguing and, some like kind of animosities, and the way that people were speaking to each other didn't feel so respectful all of the time. And so that was every once in a while she'd be like, that was the reason why she kind of didn't want to participate, so I told her about Youth and Education Committee and things like that. But I just want to put that out there because there's maybe a lot of good people who want to become a part of community boards and be active on it. But when they're experiencing uncomfortable discussions and situations, it turns people off from wanting to be a part of the community board. So I just kind of want to bring these things up because it is an experience that people have that, I remember the first time I came onto the community board meeting, I was kind of like, whoa. And so I just think that we can all bring up issues and thoughts and all of these things, but the tone, the way we're speaking to each other, all of those things needs to be considered because you have brand new great people that may come that will not come back. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there to people so that we could be more mindful of how we speak to each other. And sometimes, nitpicking at little small things or every little thing is not always conducive to making a meeting great. I think that we're supposed to be here to support each other, not always criticize or be negative. Those things it's not productive. It's actually counterproductive. So I just wanted to put that out there before I had to jump off tonight. And, and hoping that also with the meeting lengths, 2 hours is a long time, we have a lot of work and stuff to do. So just, whatever we could do around those things too can help either people to want to participate or to not participate. So that was my 2 cents before I had to go.
Okay, thank you very much for those comments. Okay, all right. We're going to go into the agenda. So the public session, call to order. Dante, are there any presentations, any groups that are presenting to the board this month?
No presentations, no.
Okay, all right. Do we have any SLA applications?
Yes, one new, full.
What is
Full
it? It's
license.
one full?
Full,
Okay.
yeah, new full.
All right. Was it an affirmative vote in the Public Safety Committee?
Let me confirm that. Continue on and I'll confirm it by the time you
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I have one full one full license. All right, after that, we are going to have public commentary. After public commentary, we are going to have acknowledgements. At that point, we are going to go into the business session. Business session, we are going to have roll call. We are going to have approval of minutes. We are going to have the roll call approval of minutes. We are going to have special orders because we do have that one piece of unfinished business, electing the members at large. So I want to start that process at that time so that way we can get the ballots. The ballots can be counted and we can continue on with our business, and then the announcement will be made after that at a later point. So special orders, which will be member at large elections. Okay. After that, we will have the committee chair reports, committee reports. And remember, as I say that, committee reports should be given in advance. If there are any announcements or anything major, committee chairs can make an announcement at that time. No more than 1 minute, please. No more than 1 minute. Your reports should speak for themselves and give the board everything that they need to know. So we'll have committee reports. After that time, we will have the district manager's report. We will have the chairman's report. Then we're going to go to voting items. Now, I heard 2 voting items. There is a resolution from the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Committee that will be given out in advance. And then the second item is the establishment of a subcommittee for City of Yes. Okay.
And the SLA for that application, Fred, the committee had no quorum, but the committee chair would like to move it forward. It's a new business that's applied all of its information.
Oh boy. All right, Dante, tell me about this application. Was all the information provided?
All of the information was provided.
You said, and this was a new business?
It's a new, yeah.
We'll take a chance. We'll take a chance on it. So we'll add that to the agenda. If it doesn't look like we're ready for the question, it's going right back to the committee.
Okay.
All right. So, it'll be helpful, whatever information you can provide in advance with respect to that. Please let the applicant know that they'll need to present before the board, and just to have their information ready because there'll probably be questions.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm sorry. I'm going back to the agenda. So we have those two voting items, and then the SLA application. That'll be the third voting item. Okay, I do not believe we have any other old business. So if there's any other, other business. Yeah, we're gonna have other business. And then we adjourn. All right, so for the officers who are present, are there any items that are missing from this agenda that need to be included at this time? Fran, are we good? Primo, are you good with the agenda as stated?
At what point you doing the voting? Did you put it in there already? Or the,
Yeah, that's going to be after the approval of the minutes. We're going to go into special orders. So that'll start the voting. So we're going to,
For the member at large.
say it again?
For the member at large.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll start the voting process. They'll collect all the votes. While they're tabulating that, we'll continue with the rest of the agenda. And then they'll make the announcement after that. Okay. All right.
Fred, I'm good. I would just say that it would be great to add Guyana Maya to your talking points or your chair report or whatever.
Let's talk offline. We'll see what we what we mentioned, because I want to be careful about that because they are potentially an applicant. So I don't want to say too much and prejudice anything. But if there are things that need to be said about that, absolutely. Let's talk offline. Okay. All
Sounds
right.
good. Understood.
Okay. Are there any other items that are missing that need to be added to the agenda at this time? Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as stated. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt the agenda as stated.
Okay, I have a motion by second Vice Chair Francisco Leopold. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Primo Lasana. Thanks, Primo. Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, at this time, okay, so listen, I will call. Do we have adoption of this agenda by common consent? Is anybody who wishes to object? Okay, I hear no objections. The agenda is adopted by common consent. Okay, all right. So is there any other business at this time for the executive committee?
Not for the executive.
Yep. Okay, hearing none. I want to thank everyone for our first meeting. Looking forward to it. We're going to have definitely more communications. I'll be reaching out to chairs just to kind of get a sense of how your first meetings went and if there's any support you need going forward. I want us to look forward to additional trainings and opportunities to do team building as well as a board. But we'll have additional details about that coming forward. Everyone,
may I give my news, or you would like to do it yourself?
You know what? You should have to give your own news. One item I do want to share with the executive committee, I think this is great news, is that our very own second Vice Chair, Francisco Leopold, is being honored as a woman of excellence?
Power.
2023 Power Woman of Brooklyn.
A Power Woman of Brooklyn, excuse me. I truly shorted her on that one. But I wanted to definitely, I just want to say that congratulations to our second Vice Chair. Truly a distinction that is well deserved. A longtime member of this board, a true servant of this district and this community. And even as we say, a power person, truly a humble servant who goes out there and does what needs to be done. So on behalf of the board, I would just want to say congratulations. And again, well deserved, well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congrats.
You know what, and as we're giving announcements, I guess just on this one note, and I will definitely make sure I mention it during the board meeting as well. Mr. Dwayne Joseph, a longtime contributor, a longtime visitor, friend of the board, he passed away this summer. He just recently got married, but he was a member of Community Board 14. As a member of Diana Richardson's staff, he was a constant figure who was always here. Definitely so strong for the community. His loss is truly something great. He was a stand-up guy, to say the least. A man of large stature, both physically and figuratively as well. And he is. And on behalf of the board, I want to wish his family our deepest condolences, and we want to also them to also know that he is definitely remembered well and fondly by Brooklyn Community Board 9. I'll make the announcement at the board meeting as well, and we will have a moment of silence just to mark that as well. Okay, so at this point, as we have concluded our agenda, we are now adjourned. Please note the time is 9:01 p.m. Everyone, thank you once again. Look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Okay, have a good night.
Good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
everyone. Be safe, be well.
Everyone, great meeting, and we
Good
just very good. Most time we'll go after 10.
Go
Good night,
Jason, go
folks.